Hello, Lucius. It's been a very long time.
Shouldn't all good little girls be in bed by this time?
But I'm not that kind of girl. You know that.
Welcome back, friends.
Welcome back.
It's time for another episode.
Almost the last episode.
I know. So, hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt,
And this is Come In 81 Kilo.
a Forever Night podcast.
We just finished watching Forever Night Season 3, Episode 21, Ashes to Ashes.
And I feel so close to you right now.
Because you physically are, because you rearranged the pod lab, and now you're right next to me. You should, okay. How do you feel after watching this episode? Besides being like, oh, I bet that's the last time Tracy's going to see Vashon, and then when he died going, fucking called it. Just lame, honey, lame.
When they were leaving, when Vashon and Urs were leaving the Raven, I knew. I was like, oh, vibes are off. Vashon's not going to survive. Urs has a chance, but I wasn't convinced.
You were like, oh, at least Urs isn't going to die. And I was like, oh, this is so hard. How hard it's been to keep this a secret. I don't know. This episode always gets me. Like, I feel during this episode, as much as I rag on Vashon's hair, the whole like Tracy crying over him, and I feel like that's all really sad. And I have some problems with how it all goes down. And of course, we're going to talk about it because it's literally what we do. But also just like, it feels like the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we're killing off main cast.
Yeah. It feels like, oh, shit. I mean, it's slightly a cleverly disguised elevator episode because the actual flashback that we filmed new is only one set of outfits, two characters. That's it. And then the rest of the flashback is actually recycled, more permanent hell flashback. Which is a bold choice because Catherine Long, Divia is 13 when she films More Permanent Hell, and she's like 16 when she films this, so she's actually grown up. So it's like a bold move to be like, oh yeah, by the way, she used to be littler. Oh, that's okay. That's fine. I just
don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. In fact, that we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So we open. We'll just get started because I feel like we have a lot to riff on in this episode, and we might as well just get to it. So we open on a guy in an Egyptian tomb, and he's breaking into this tomb. We like see an opening, and we see his like light in his eyes pop up into the opening because these dudes are grave robbers, and they've broken into this tomb. Is it the tomb of Akhenaten? Ayahotep. Okay.
And I feel like this room is like an exhibit at an interactive children's museum or something like that.
Yeah, and they just hijacked it.
And they were like, hey, can we film for like 5 minutes in here? We'll have our two scenes in and out.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be fine.
We just got to film real quick.
Yeah.
Because it seems like a bit more work than they usually put in because of all the hieroglyphic stuff painted on the walls. But maybe they just went hard on the sets.
Yeah. Actually, this is a set that they built, and it was modular. So they could remove walls to set cameras outside of it to make the set look larger than it actually was.
All
so,
right.
yeah. And it's supposed to be the tomb of Ayahotep, and then who was a priest of Akhenaten. And just like a minor quibble here, Akhenaten, who is actually the father of Tutankhamun, who started life as Tutankhaten, is notorious as being the one Egyptian pharaoh that was like, actually, guys, I think there's only one god, and it is the sun god Aten, which is why he was Akhenaten, and why it was Tutankhaten, because he tried to make it monotheistic. And he actually changes the art. He changes the way Egyptian art looks, which is why I know all of this, because I have like an art degree. But he is the one that makes all the Egyptian artwork look. If you've ever seen Egyptian art where they have like a little, like a pooch, like a little belly, like a dad bod, that's from Akhenaten's reign. And he was actually probably killed because he was trying to change the way the religion worked. And when Tutankhaten changed his name to Tutankhamun, he was changing his name to Amun-Ra, which was the sun god of Egypt. The legit one, the previous one. So it was like, hey guys, I'm cool. We're all cool. Look, I changed my name. So the priest of Akhenaten would not have had the sun god Ra on the sarcophagus. And probably would not have had any kind of an actual burial because they were sort of all disgraced.
Well, he got buried this way as a punishment and way to contain him.
No. She buried her master in this tomb.
The symbol was already there?
Yeah, the symbol was already there, and she shoved him in there because she was like, it'd be cool. Because she says, he's flanked by 2 other priests, or at least that's what they think. But it was Ka-Ra or whatever, her master is actually who's in the tomb.
Right, I thought he was the priest.
I mean, he could have been the priest.
Ayahotep.
But the whole point is that that's the wrong god. It
Gotcha.
It wouldn't have worked. Anyway, our grave robber, thank you for joining me in Rachel's Egyptology lesson of today.
Thank y'all.
You're welcome. I really, really like Egyptology. So he says he can see through the stone and that they need to open the tomb in the center. Look for the sun god. And he's like, okay, cool. Like, I see it right here. And then the grave robber is like, hang on, what about the legend? The legend of the tomb. What if like Ray believes that I'm not worthy and I end up getting destroyed? Like, what if I end up dying? And the guy's like, dude, it's fine.
Don't worry about it.
The only legend that concerns us deals with the treasure. And he's like, oh, you make a compelling argument. So then he just whacks the seal one time with a hammer.
And the entire lid splits.
The whole lid splits, and then it starts sliding open all by itself, and then it starts to glow with an inner light. And
what is that?
At this point, I would be like, the curse is real. And I just fucking dip. But he's like, oh no. Oh no. And he like runs around to the front of it. And then we see the glow reflected on this guy's face. And he actually looks up, like we track his eyes up as if something is rising out of the tomb. And then he starts screaming. And then we go to the intro.
Yep.
And that's our opening. And you know what?
He's really, really scared.
I feel like we couldn't have, the second to last episode couldn't have started on a better, more melodramatic. Like, what if we raise something from the dead in Egypt and it comes back to fuck with LaCroix? Hell yeah, let's do that. I mean, what else,
Yeah, LaCroix finally gets a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah, you can go out with a whimper or you can go out with a bang. And they were like, fucking bang, bang, motherfuckers. We're about to go. So that's how we start. And then we go to the Raven.
Well,
and we actually get...
Depending on the opening for like every other episode, we're pretty sure this guy dies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he definitely did. Yeah. With the screaming and the light and the
I mean, he could have been being transformed.
ancient Egyptian curse and whatnot.
Turned into a frog? Burbot.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to introduce actual magic right now. Like, right now. Episode 21.
That'll be in the reboot.
Yeah, in the reboot. We'll have the
witch arc.
No.
After the werewolf arc.
No. Don't even... I know you're kidding. And that's the only reason that I'm not going to get even more mad than I already am right now.
Right before the mummy arc.
We do not muddy the waters. Do you know how much I fucking hate it when we throw... Okay. What Matt is referencing is my general dislike for when you get me a good vampire show and then you're like, oh, look, guys, now there's werewolves and witches and blah, 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 and now you have the Vampire Diaries and nobody cares anymore. So, I mean, lots of people cared about the Vampire Diaries. I'm not shitting on the Vampire Diaries. I personally didn't like it because if everybody gets to be a supernatural beastie, where's the fun? Where'd the fun go, y'all? The fun has left the room. It left the building. I'm done. There's no fun.
Yeah, and if you can get transformed back to a human whenever you want.
Yeah, also not cool.
Where's the risk? Where's the danger?
Yeah. Where's
existentially?
No. That's okay. Not now. Not now. So we start at the Raven. And LaCroix actually is alone. He is not with Nicholas. He is not with anyone else. No one is coming to ask him for information. He is not giving anyone information. He's not sitting at the bar drinking a glass of blood. He's literally he went for a walk. And do you know how much the show would have improved if we had spent any time showing characters like LaCroix doing normal ass shit like going for a walk? Instead of every single time we see them, they're in their context and LaCroix's evil. He's doing evil shit. Well, like, you look at how much more depth his character feels like it has after one single episode. One single episode where we actually got to see him do something other than twirling his mustache and podcasting. And he's suddenly a way deeper, way better character. We're going to do this earlier in the reboot. That is something we will be doing in the reboot.
Yes, establishing backstories.
Yes, establishing backstories. I mean, we know his backstory, but we don't know, like, who he is. We don't know anything more about LaCroix than how he relates to Nicholas.
Right.
Yeah. So he actually goes up to the door of the Raven, and then he turns around like, what? Hold on, did I hear something? Like, he senses something. And then we see LaCroix through someone else's night vision. It's like heavy breathing.
Right.
Red overtones. Like the Divia weird bat sounds that she makes all the time, which I can only imagine is because she's closer to the first vampire. Maybe they were more bat-like, and that's why every time she does anything, it's like so much so that our cat kept getting freaked out. Pippin was like, what the shit?
No, that's just Divia.
Oh, yeah. No, maybe it's just Divia. Yeah, that's true. And then we go to the precinct, and it's Tracy and Reese, and they are debating about who is the most deranged serial killer.
Yeah, and Rachel has a lot more insight into this than I do.
I just, like, what is it? I think the purpose of this is evil exists everywhere and in everyone. And I'm re-listening to Good Omens, and we just got to a really poignant part. There's actually quite a few poignant parts in Good Omens. And there's a part where Crowley is talking about how he doesn't really see heaven and hell as good and evil. They're just opposite sides of the cosmic chessboard. And where good and evil actually exists is in humanity.
Right.
That angels are not inherently good and demons are not inherently bad. They are just opposite forces, and the truly depraved things only come from human minds. And that's kind of what Tracy and Reese are talking about, is like, there are evil people. They're kind of like throwing out names of who's more deranged, and finally Reese is like, how about this serial killer who murdered kids in front of their parents, and then the parents committed suicide because they were so traumatized. And Tracy's like, what the fuck? And then Nick goes, why would she do that? And Reese goes, oh, she just said it was fun. And Tracy goes, you're making this up because I would have read about that. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Back in those days, that kind of sickness was like in the tabloids. That wasn't something that we weren't
like
making.
Serious journalists didn't cover it.
We weren't making Netflix movies about these guys back then. We bitch about the press right now, but at least this stuff is more visible. And the first defense against evil is to open your damn eyes.
First defense against evil, open your damn eyes.
Wink.
And then Blue Man Kuma winks and gives a little smile at Tracy. And I think this is a really sweet little moment, and it feels impromptu. It feels like something the actor just did in a, like, open your damn eyes, because he's read Nick's file. He knows who her partner
And
is.
he knows that all she needs to do is open her eyes.
Yeah.
And especially after the past lives episode,
Yeah.
she should know that there's something right in front of her.
Yeah. There's something in front of you that you're missing. And then Nick gets a call, and all it is a girl who goes, "There's a corpse at the Raven." Because Nick is like, "What? Who is this?" And then we just hear the dial tone, boop, which you don't hear anymore. But that was the sound that the phone made when the person on the other end hung up. The dial tone. Also, the busy signal. Well, sometimes you still get a busy signal, but not so much a dial tone. It just told you that the phone was active but not in use. And then we go back to LaCroix, and LaCroix is doing his like vlogging glide that he does sometimes when he's alone, and sometimes just when he feels like it, where he just glides. And he's gliding through the Raven, and he ends up finding Urs and Vashon asleep on the couch in the fuck pad.
You mean their apartment?
It's not their apartment. It's the room.
Guess, yeah.
It's the room that
Vashon
has
a place that he lives.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like to stay there.
Right. And Urs stays downstairs. So this is not where anybody normally sleeps. And Urs is like, oh, this is not what you think it is. And LaCroix just goes, how disappointing. Like, I don't give a shit. He doesn't care. He's like, I didn't think anything of it except that I don't want you in here and I don't want you talking to me. I haven't had my morning coffee yet. Like, I'm just fucking not ready to talk to anybody. And Urs is like, oh, it's cool. It's cool. Like, I asked Vashon to come over because I was having scary dreams about headless children. And then I woke up and like I saw a for realsies headless child.
Foreshadowing.
And LaCroix is like, ugh. Like, he gets really uncomfortable. He like turns away really fast and he's like, I'm just getting my blood. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Especially when she starts to mention that she's been feeling an evil presence. She's like, there's something evil here. I can feel it. And LaCroix is like, yes. Well, this is all very interesting, but I do have a club to open. So like, can you GTFO? Also like, evil? Of course, this is a vampire club. Please get the fuck out. So they leave. And then we see that someone is watching Vashon and Urs leave because we get more heavy breathing.
And night vision.
And night vision. And then the same person actually watches LaCroix come out with a couple of bottles. And this is when LaCroix is like, again, looking around like, hang on, I think I sense something. And then he pauses and looks around. Like, he goes behind the counter and he puts the bottles on the counter. And then he pauses like, hold up. That does not smell like the beer fridge. And so he opens the beer fridge to find a headless body in the fridge. And then he closes it and looks over and there's a box on the floor and Matt goes, "What's in the box?" Rude. So rude. Of course, we all know what's in the box. He picks up the box and he sets it on the counter and Matt goes, I wonder how they're going to cover up the hole in the counter later. Because they have the actor stick his head through the box.
Yeah.
They don't need to. It's fine.
It's the last time they're going to need it, right?
I know, they got this set for one more episode. It's perfectly fine. And so he opens the box. And actually the first thing on the top is Divia's cameo. As if like Divia was buried with this cameo. And
cameo as in like
necklace.
A pendant.
Yeah, a necklace with her image on it. And actually, he has this cameo in A More Permanent Hell. Because at the very end, when he's like, damn you, Divia, he holds up the cameo. Like he's podcasting holding the cameo in his hand.
Yeah.
So are there two? Did she break into his house and get it? Did he have another one made?
Well, I mean, she broke into his house to stash the body.
Yeah. So did she go get the cameo and then
she found it there? She was just
like,
poking around.
Yeah.
Oh, great. This is perfect. The perfect addition to the box.
I mean, of the things that have no explanation in this episode, this is literally the smallest of the small things. Plus the setting is different on the cameo that he pulls out of the box. The one that she has in the flashback and the one that he has in A More Permanent Hell has 2 points of connection. So like the brooch piece could never twist. And then when the one that he pulls out is only attached at the top. So I don't know. It doesn't matter. But again, like, did anybody watch season 2? Because I watched season 2. So he picks that up and he's holding it. And then he lifts the next layer and it's the head of the Egyptian guy from the tomb. And
who is a stranger to him? He has no idea.
He has no idea who that guy is. And then we get a flashback to Divia and LaCroix in the tomb. And she's like, "Can you feel the presence, Father?" And he's like, Father. And he's like, "Yes, Divia, I feel evil." And then we come back and we actually see him like from the point of view of the cameo, like the cameo's in the foreground, just as the police arrive, like Nick arrives at the Raven with a bunch of other police officers, and he pockets the cameo just as Nick tells him to keep his hands where they can see them. And then he goes, "Please." Like he can't order Nick. He can't order LaCroix around.
Father.
He can't order LaCroix around even to say face in front. He's just like, "Can you keep your hands where you can see them? Please. Like, please don't." I think the please is also like, do not make this a thing. Like, I need you to hold it together because if you lose your shit, I could lose my shit and then I'm out. Like, I have to leave. I can't stay in this job anymore. So please, please, please pretend to be human for the length of time that you have to interact with me in front of other humans. Do you think you can handle that? And so LaCroix is just like, "I think you'll find what you're looking for here and also over there." Because it's in two places. I do like when he pulls it back and it's the head and he's like, "Ugh." And it's not like I'm grossed out by this head. It's like, "Oh no, this is really melodramatic. I think I know who this is." It's just like, oh God, no. Not fucking Divia. And then we get LaCroix at the precinct. And I have been waiting for this for so long. It's like one of my favorite scenes.
I know you brought this up so many times.
I love this. I love it. Like, I just love it. Just like in the episode where remember when they brought in Jeanette and Skanky had to question Jeanette in the precinct?
Yeah.
Seeing a character out of context and interact with characters that they don't normally interact with is just like, so good. And it's everything you want because it's LaCroix at the precinct. It's Reese trying to question LaCroix. It's Reese trying his usual heavy-handed tactics, but on the dude that's like 2,000 years old and gives so few shits, he'd probably rather just kill everyone in this building so he could go home and take a nap. And Reese is like, "So you have no idea how the body got there or who it could be?" And LaCroix is like, "No, I don't know how it got there. And no, I don't know who it was." And so they ask, like, who has access to the club after hours? And LaCroix is like, no one. It is completely empty. And in the background is Nick like, "Bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, God, bullshit." Like, his face is just like, oh, God. That is a lie. That is a straight
LaCroix,
lie.
what about this key you gave me?
No, they're like, does Nick not have a key on his key ring? And they're like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about." And Reese is like, "What about the staff? Like, surely you have staff." And Tracy's like, "Yeah, didn't someone stock up the beer fridge at closing time?" And LaCroix is like, "Yeah, we close at 6, but I really feel like someone would have mentioned if they found a decapitated corpse in the beer fridge." Like, I don't know what to tell you. No, it wasn't there at closing. And Reese goes, "Okay, yeah, assuming you didn't put it there." And he's like, "Yeah, assuming that, of course." And then Tracy's like, "Well, did you spend the night at home? Did you leave?" Like, they're trying to figure out when was the opportunity for someone to get in there and put it in there.
Right.
And LaCroix goes, "Well, I live at the club. Like, that is my home. But I took a walk right around sundown and they must have snuck it in then."
I meant to look up, like, in Toronto, in the city, are you allowed to have a shared, like, business residence?
Well, it would have been different in the 90s anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And so Reese goes, "Right. So someone just broke into your club, put a body in the fridge for the hell of it?" And this is LaCroix. LaCroix's, "I kind of thought that discovering a motive was what you guys did. You know, your fucking job."
Someone breaks in, stuffs a corpse into a fridge, and gift wraps its head for you, just for the hell of it.
It's my understanding that discovering a motive is your job.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He doesn't have to answer that question. That's not even a question. It was just a supposition.
Right.
I think, somebody broke in. So you're saying somebody broke in and did it for the hell of it? And he's like, Ma, isn't that your job to figure it out? I'm just telling you what I know for a fact, which is I didn't do it. And so Nick goes, perhaps you should get yourself a lawyer. And this one's when Reese is like, yeah, but if you did that, we'd have to charge you with something. And the charge would be murder 1. And LaCroix's like, oh, honey, one's way off. And LaCroix's like, okay, sure. Yeah, so you could charge me with a crime if you wanted to. I mean, the evidence is pretty good. And then Reese and LaCroix just have this really long look. And Reese backs down. He goes, I want him held as a material witness. And then Tracy and Reese leave.
Mic drop.
Except he didn't. She was like, I'm going to charge you with murder. And LaCroix's like, then do it. And then they stared at each other for a minute. And he's like, okay, well, at least want to hold him as a witness. And then they leave. And LaCroix's like, wow. I really like your little friends. They are not without character. He says, your associates are not without character. And Nick goes, and your associates? Say the ones that live in the basement? And LaCroix's like, oh, come on. You know it wasn't them. And then
They're professionals.
He goes, so actually, Nick, by the way, how did you know to come to the Raven? Like, what prompted that little visit? And Nick goes, an anonymous tip.
And I was expecting Nick to say, yeah, we got an anonymous tip, and like they called me, and it sounded like a little girl.
He didn't have time, because pretty much as soon as he says an anonymous tip, they come in to take LaCroix to lock up. And then we see LaCroix walking by, like in front. Nobody is holding him. Nobody is leading him. He is literally just walking in front of the group to lock up.
He and his entourage
are
strolling to lock up.
He walks by Reese. I love this so fucking much. This whole scene brings so much joy to my heart because Reese goes, he may not be guilty of this, but he sure as hell is guilty of something.
He may not be guilty of this, but he sure as hell is guilty of something.
You are correct.
Good instincts.
Good
Reese.
instincts. It kind of reminds me of in Dexter when he's like, wow, this entire building full of people trained to recognize killers, and I only give one guy the creeps. Kind of like that. But Tracy's kind of sus. Like, she watches LaCroix walk by, and she's not an idiot. She's like, oh, that dude's a vampire. So she calls Vashon, and she goes out to meet him by her car. And she's like, thanks for coming on such short notice. And Vashon just being an absolute dickhole. I don't know why. He's like, you forget time is relative. What the fuck does that mean, Vashon?
He's trying to be profound.
Does that mean that it's a longer minute for you, or is it a shorter minute for you, or was it not actually short notice, or was it really, like, what is that supposed to mean? Time is relative.
He's just trying to sound aged and wise.
Okay, that's why he's sitting there flipping a coin.
Yeah, and he's trying to look
like
nonchalant,
this is a
too.
noir flick.
He's not good at it.
Okay, fine. Well, Tracy tells him about the crime at the Raven immediately. She's like, listen, here's the tea. So we were at the Raven, and there was a dead body, and it was headless, and it was in the beer fridge, and then there was a box, and the box had a head in it, and blah, 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 blah. And, oh, by the way, we're also holding LaCroix, and then somebody comes out, and Vashon whooshes off, and she's like, oh, shit, I didn't actually get to talk to him. And then he taps on the window behind her because he's in the car. So she gets in the car with him, and he's like, it's warmer in here. Okay, that's fine. And then she's like, so Vashon, is LaCroix one of you? Like, is he one of you? And Vashon just stares at her like, bloop, bloop. Like the Korean drama, like blink sound, the bloop, bloop. And then he goes, nope. And Tracy says, oh, well, I could feel an evil presence when I was there, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't LaCroix, so what could it have been? And Vashon makes a crack about her feeling rattled just because she saw a severed head, and she's like, don't run me around, Vashon. Like, don't infantilize me. Give me some credit here. I know you know evil. It's a part of you, and maybe it's why we would never work.
Oof.
Wow. She's been stewing on that because she's gotten really serious. We went from her being real kind of perky and bubbly and funny. And then in the last couple of episodes, she's gotten increasingly dark. Like, Just not Tracy. Not the Tracy we've been getting to know over the last 20 some episodes. It's just a more morose, like she's realizing that she may have romanticized the idea of Vashon, but in the end, he's just kind of a doofus.
Maybe it's the past life memories of the violinist.
Yeah. Yeah. She has been seeing a past life therapist. So
Yeah, we don't know how
know.
many sessions she's had with that therapist lady.
Yeah, she's like, I was killed by a vampire in my former life. I'm just saying. I mean, that would be a reason for me to be mad.
That changes things.
It's kind of like when I have a dream about you doing something and it makes me mad at you in the dream, and then I wake up and I have a hard time not being mad at you.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like that. Like the one where we were trying to escape a volcano and you kept not taking the turn I was telling you to take. So we were driving straight at the volcano instead of turning away from it.
I must have had a plan.
Okay. Anyway, she's like, it's a part of you, and maybe that's why we would never work. And Vashon's just like, bloop, bloop. What? He's like, what? What do you mean? What does that have to do with anything right now? And she's like, I can feel it. Like, I can feel it in you, and it scares me. And Vashon goes, he does not deny it, which I find curious. He just goes, okay, so what does this have to do with the current crime? And Tracy's like, I don't know. It's just a feeling. And Tracy tells him, you know what? It's whatever. Like, you were really super, just so fucking helpful, Vashon. So you can go. It's fine. And can you call me when you get home? Like, she's worried about him, which is really sweet. He's like, sure, okay. And then the Watcher is back because we see the red-eyed night vision, heavy breathing vision of Vashon. And then he flies off and lands somewhere in the vicinity of his house. I don't know why he lands here in particular, but he can't help but hear a girl crying in the alley. And I don't think that's why he landed there. So I don't know. Divia is inscrutable. Who knows how she knew where he was going to be.
This is the 5th checkpoint along Vashon's return path that she tried to lure him.
She's been trying to for like weeks, but he just doesn't give it. He just gives
crying because she's so frustrated, but she can't give up.
She's like, I have to do this to stick it to my dad. But Vashon's such a doofus.
He's so unreliable.
She's tried calling for help, and he's just like, well, somebody else is going to take care of that.
ADHD vampire.
He's definitely going to go help, but then something happens along the way and he gets totally distracted and he forgets he was going.
And Divya misses another chance.
She's like, God damn it. Well, this one works because guess what? The girl crying in the alley is Alia. The girl crying in the alley is Divya. And as soon as he walks up, she like throws off her tarp or whatever she's got over her. And she's like, ha, 'tis I. And he's like, Avast!
Who you be you?
And he doesn't know who she is. Literally, this like child vampire is just like,
right. Like LaCroix isn't even his sire.
No.
So it's just because like,
he happened to
hangs
be
out
there
at the Raven.
Yeah.
He got targeted.
Yeah, he happened to be there the morning that she arrived, and she was like, "Oh, they're best friends. Oh yeah, they're definitely best friends. Maybe they're even together. I don't like this at all." So then Divya, and now this is really, I'm going to spend some time discussing this. Divya's method of killing these vampires.
I was going to bring up just Divya in general. Divya has been in a sarcophagus for roughly 2,000 years. Because it's 20 years after she turned LaCroix into a vampire.
Yeah.
They've been fucking around in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Northern
9980.
Africa, whatever.
Yeah. 1900 years she's been in there.
So how does she know English?
Maybe she can hear things that are going on around her.
I'm wondering if...
Maybe she ate a bunch of English-speaking people.
Oh, that would solve the problem.
Yeah.
If she just kept drinking everybody's blood along the way and incorporating their memories to like absorb all of the cultural context and languages and stuff, that would explain how she's able to acclimate herself so quickly to modern society.
Yeah.
if she has just been on a rampage through, like, probably northern Africa through Europe, then I guess England, and then boop,
No, 24 hours.
Greenland, Iceland.
It's 24
I
hours.
know, but she's like fly hopping,
Oh, okay.
just eating, like, oh, there's a city. I don't know what direction I need to go to get closer to LaCroix.
Yeah, how does she find him so quick? Well, they
Well,
can
they have the
sense each
bond,
other.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I answered
And
my
they
own
have a
question.
double bond.
They do. Gross.
Well, she wanted it to be a triple bond.
I know. Daughter,
Tri-bond.
mother, lover. Why can't I be all three? Which I think I've actually said on the podcast and you didn't catch it.
Oh no, I've heard you say that several times, and
Yeah.
I knew what you meant by it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I
You
ruined it
revealed
for you.
that.
I try so hard, and sometimes I just
Well,
don't make
you
it.
told me years ago.
Okay.
After you had given up on the idea of me ever watching all of Forever Night.
Okay, that's fair. So, yes. So, there's a really good, really entertaining book series called the Greyfriars series, and it is by Clay and Susan Griffiths. And in that, it's like a steampunk alternate history where there are vampires and humans, but vampires are an entirely separate species. And they're actually really, really good at learning languages because it's part of how they hunt. So one of their adaptations is they're just super good at picking up different human languages.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's kind of like that. Maybe they're really, really good at adapting to language because it would be essential for them in order to be able to like move through the centuries seamlessly.
Right.
Because I know in Anne Rice's vampires, every once in a while, they'll go to ground for a while to just like take a minute.
Right. They need to do a psychic reset so they can absorb new
They,
knowledge.
they need a fresh fall of snow. So they'll go like hang out. And then when they come back, they got to catch up. And so they can catch up really quickly because it's kind of part of how they work. But what I really wanted to address here is how Divia kills people. Because Divia kills people with either sheer evilness or psychic assault. So vampires, as we have more or less established without actually trying to establish anything, but just sort of by never ever clarifying how certain things work, are slightly psychic. Not psychic in like, although every once in a while, LaCroix implies that he can read Nicholas's mind. So that would make him real psychic.
I'm pretty sure he's just fucking with Nick.
Yeah.
Because he just knows Nick so well and he can predict Nick so accurately.
I would argue they are empathic. That they can sense each other's emotional shifts.
Yeah.
Which is why they would know when people are afraid or whatever. So they are slightly psychic. And when they share blood, they share sort of not just the blood, but what I would argue is almost a psychic link, because that would be how they would be able to learn everybody's emotions and all that stuff just from the blood. So there's a little bit of mystical psychicness happening here. So in that situation, would a non-consensual sharing of memories be considered sexual assault?
Like if she forced her blood into Vashon.
Because she's like scratching them and then biting them, and then they are seeing her memories. So she is in some way sharing her memories with them.
Right.
And the sheer overwhelming evilness of who she is destroys them. Like she destroys their minds, basically, with a non-consensual psychic connection. And if psychic connection is effectively how they have sex, then a non-consensual psychic event like this would be considered like assault.
Oh, it would definitely be assault.
Like a sexual form of assault.
Maybe.
I think that argument could be made. I think it makes her a lot more evil when you go that far. I mean, clearly she was not above fucking her own dad. So why not the man mullet? I mean, come on. So, like, I think it you know, I don't think that's what they were going for. Of course not. They're just like, oh, she's so evil. Ooh, she's capable of
She
killing.
bites them and they become infected by her evil.
And then they die, which I love how Urs is just like, oh, fuck it, I did. And Vashon lingers. Vashon lingers for a while, and Urs is just like, I'm out. I don't want this. I'm done. I already didn't want to be here, so I'm just going to leave. So what happens, however you want to describe it, Vashon gets assaulted by Divia and is capable, Divia's whatever, however Divia is capable of doing this.
He gets infected
He
by
gets
her evil.
infected by her memories and her
Would that be a sexually transmitted
animus,
disease?
I guess. Well, it wouldn't be considered sexually transmitted disease if it was consensual, but it's non-consensual. You didn't ask for this.
Well, even if it was consensual and he got infected by her evil.
And she bites them all. And one of the things we avoid talking about, but is sort of like the elephant in the room, is the inherent like sexual assault nature of the vampire's non-consensual feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the like 1-2 punch of like a psychic invasion and a physical invasion.
Right. And she marks them all by scratching their faces too.
Yeah. In a very like public, like can't help but see it way.
Yeah.
All of them. Anyway, it's something to think about. It makes Divia way grosser. I mean, Divia can kind of be a joke. Haha, she wants to fuck LaCroix, whatever. But, I mean, when you think about it that way, she's real not great. Like, real not great. And then we go to the morgue after Vashon collapses in the alley. Divia leaves Vashon. Like, I assume she thinks she's left him for dead. And then we go to the morgue. And it's actually Reese on speakerphone. And he tells Tracy and Nick and Natalie that the guy in the fridge was actually an Egyptian grave robber and that he was last seen at the tomb of Ayahotep in the Valley of the Kings 24 hours ago, which means Divia can cross the Atlantic in less than a day while carrying a body. So she real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now
then,
the question is,
okay.
did she track down LaCroix and then like solo and then think, oh, but I gotta fuck with him, and then go back and get the
guy?
body and then take it to LaCroix? Or did she have that plan the whole time?
You know, I guess he was there 24 hours ago. I was going to say she could have kept him alive and then killed him and then put him in the beer fridge, and then she wouldn't have been lugging a dead body around.
Yeah.
But he went missing 24 hours ago. So at most, she's had possession of his physical form, alive or dead, for 24 hours. Yeah, and she either went 12 hours there, or let's see, 24 divided by 3. So 8 there, 8 back, and then 8 back. But some of that would have been during the day. Underwater, yeah. I mean, they are capable of propelling themselves at speed through a physical medium. There's really no difference between the air and the water as far as that's concerned, except density, which means she might be slower under the water, but would be no less capable of like mentally propelling herself.
Right. Does the body have any wind burn?
From going that fast. They're like, wow, it's really weird. He's covered in like bird shit and feathers. Like, I don't know. She flew through a flock.
One of his eyeballs is missing. It looks like a bird gouged it out.
What the fuck? But what I love about this scene more than, like, I love what they're chatting about. Like, this is good. But also, if you'll notice, the music in this whole episode is extremely somber. Like, it's very boom,
yeah,
boom. Like, it's sad. Reese is like, well, what do we know about the body now? And Natalie goes, well, we know he's been dead for 24 hours, which I could have told you before, but also like confirmation. So great. And not to get too technical, but he was torn to motherfucking shreds. And she goes, you know, if you hadn't told me he was in a tomb 24 hours ago, I would have said it was an animal. And then Reese goes, well, an animal didn't sneak him into Canada. So we got to figure this out. And then they hang up on Reese. And Natalie is like, everyone just looks at each other for a minute. And Natalie finally goes, there has to be a rational explanation for this. Like, no, there does not actually have to be a rational explanation for this.
You're in a room with a vampire.
Yeah. So just Rational has left the building. Rational is no longer answering our
Drop
calls.
your pretenses.
Yeah, Rational has ghosted us. Literally, no one can get a hold of Rational, so that's done. And Tracy's like, I guess that means LaCroix's off the hook.
What?
It doesn't.
Brilliant police deduction.
Doesn't actually mean that. It just means that the guy was in Egypt 24 hours ago, and now he is here. He could have traveled here. And then LaCroix could have killed him and stuffed him in the beer fridge.
Right. Right, because I'm presuming LaCroix has an alibi leading up to
Just
the
that he
body
was at
showing
the
up.
club.
Yeah.
And then he went walking by himself. So, I don't know. Then we go to LaCroix in lockup. And again, they just fucking thank you. I love this scene so much. Because LaCroix is in lockup. And we start by looking at all the other people in lockup. And they are all hunched over in the corner. And then as we pan around, there's this big empty space. And then LaCroix is just standing there. And so everyone is actively avoiding being near him. And then Nick walks in and LaCroix goes, clearly I have a future in like
a sobering influence on the delinquent or the
on the delinquent population or whatever. Like basically I could scare people into
scare him straight.
Yeah, scare him straight like in crime. Like
Yeah.
like crime wise. So Nick is like, well, you're to be released for lack of evidence. And LaCroix's like, okay, like, oh, we all knew that was going to happen. And then Nick actually tells him all about it. He's like, listen, here's the sitch. He was an Egyptian guy. He was in Egypt 24 hours ago. He broke into this tomb and then he disappeared. And LaCroix's like, oh, weirdest thing. And then he goes into the flashback like, oh shit, Egypt. And he actually goes into the flashback when he hears that it's the tomb of Ayahotep. And then Divia and LaCroix are in this tomb in the flashback. And she's telling him about this is the chief priest of Akhenaten, which, as previously described, creates a problematic thing here. I figured they just thought Akhenaten was easy to say, so they went with that. So whatever. Yeah. And she says that her master, Ka'a, was said to be one of the first vampires and was actually older than the pyramids. And that she killed him. She's like, yeah, no, he died. He got staked and left out in the sun. And then somebody like put him in this tomb. And LaCroix's like, oh my God, we have to track that person down and kill them. And she's like, 'tis I. I did it because he wanted to control me and nobody puts Divia in a corner. And LaCroix's like, oh, okay. I feel like this is a moment of revelation
Not the
for him.
daughter of General Lucius.
I feel like this is a moment of revelation for him because he's like, oh, she killed her vampire dad. I am also
what
her
she
dad.
called her true father.
Yeah, and I'm her like second in line father, so she is just as willing to kill me. Oh no, like this is not good.
I'm in danger.
Kind of, yes.
That's I think Ralphie from The Simpsons.
Oh yeah, no, I got the reference. I did. Yeah, I was just thinking about like this isn't the moment where she tries to come on to him, but also I was thinking she's a predator in more ways than one. It's just I don't know why these choices were made about Divya. I'm not mad about it. It's fine. I just think it's like they couldn't like they were like, okay, we need something that will be too far for LaCroix. We need a line, y'all. We need to know what LaCroix's line is. Where is his line? Like they're in the writer's room. Everybody's sitting there. Someone's crying. Someone's eating donuts. There's like 6 cups of coffee in the middle. No one can remember whose is whose. There's a pen in one of them. And they're like, the line, y'all. We got to find the line. And somebody just goes, maybe he wouldn't fuck his own daughter. And they're like, yes,
incest.
Yes, get that man a trophy. Get that man another donut. Get that man a tissue. He wouldn't fuck his own daughter. That's it. We've got it. And then they were like, well, who do we bring back? And they're like, we already had, he has a daughter, sir. Remember Divya? And they're like, fucking Divya. And so then they had to track down Catherine. They had to like send a pigeon. She just appeared in a puff of smoke and she was like, I am prepared to be Divya again. I'm pretty sure that's exactly.
Prepare my white robe.
To live, Divya. Okay, so anyway, that all went through my mind. So just
and then we get Nick like Hey, LaCroix.
Woo,
LaCroix.
over here.
Hey, you kind of had a flashback there.
Yeah, no, I saw what you were doing. I do it all the time, but also like,
Eyes over here.
eyes over here.
Attention.
Yeah. I think Nick looks so jazzed to see LaCroix in lockup. Like, this is the funniest
Yeah.
thing he's ever seen in
Oh,
his
yeah.
life. And he's like, and LaCroix just goes, "Can I go?" And Nick's like, "Oh, yeah, sure. You know, come over here with the keys, dude. Unlock this door." And then we get Urs going to see Vashon. I have to imagine Vashon's not doing his usual check-in, or maybe she tried calling him on his cordless phone that he has because he uses it later. And he didn't pick up. So Urs comes to check on him. And when she sees him at the church, he's freaking the fuck out. He's like throwing himself around. He kind of attacks her and he starts screaming, "The killing! I can't stop the killing." Well, that's notable because actually his entire purpose in life was to stop senseless killing in the world. Remember that?
According to his backstory as related by Vashon.
Yeah. And the Inca who spoke Spanish and also English, but also Spanish. But the grossest part about this scene is he's like, "I can see the killing, all the killing, children killing children." And then he goes, "I can't stand the pleasure." Dude, yell something else. "I can't stop the killing." That was fine. You could have left it there, but not the "I'm so hard right now."
I'm wondering if Star Wars Episode 2 was it Episode 2 or Episode 3 where Anakin kills the younglings. I guess that was the 3.
Yeah.
I wonder if they got
You
the
were
line,
the chosen
the
one.
men, the women, and the children too from Vashon here, because
Yeah.
that's what he says. The
Yeah.
men, the women, and the children too.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a real complicated line. It's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who was crying in the writer's room went on to be in the Star Wars writer's room.
Hayden kept watching Forever Night after he starred in it.
Oh, it's Hayden. Yeah.
And he's like, Vashon had a really good line about like struggling with the emotions of killing a bunch of people.
Yeah. Except he didn't end with, "I can't stand the pleasure."
Hey,
God,
he threw
fucking
that in,
gross.
and George Lucas was like, "No, dude."
I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be the like, there's a part of them that like, that is their joy
Well,
in
and I
life.
think
That
he's
is their
feeling
joie de
Divia's
vivre.
pleasure of killing
Yeah.
men, women, and children.
Right. Yeah. It's layers of gross is what it is.
And the reason it's so hard to handle is because he doesn't usually feel that amount of pleasure from killing.
Or he doesn't normally deal with his emotions. He just like feels them and moves on or runs or whatever. And it's
He
something
hides from them.
I mean, it's something we're going to kind of confront later when we find out that this method of killing don't work on Nick. So
Because he's done some shadow work.
We will table it until then. We're just going to table it. Okay. It's right
Yeah.
there on the table. And we are actually going to revisit this dish. I promise.
Okay.
Yeah. But Urs is like, "Who did this to you, Vashon? Like, what's going on? Who did this?" And he's like, "She's so small, but evil, but she's just a child." And he keeps seeing Divia's memories. We keep seeing flashes of Divia's memories. And he ends up kicking Urs out. And he threatens her with the same thing Divia did to her master. He's like, "Get out before you are staked and left to turn to ashes in the sun." And Urs is like, "Oh yeah, I'm not here. This is not my moment." So Urs just leaves. She's like, I'm going. Fuck you, Vashon. Oh, she goes to
Yeet.
get help. She heats off to get help.
Yeah.
And Vashon actually calls Tracy because that's exactly what he needs to do in this moment. He calls Tracy and he's like, "I know who did it. I know who did it." He like falls over the floor and starts screaming and then leaves the
And
phone out the hook.
Tracy thinks, "Oh, a vampire called me," sounding like he was struggling. And then he screamed in torment and agony. I need to go visit him.
Yeah. Well, she trusts Vashon. For reasons unknown to most of us, she trusts Vashon. She rushes off to help him. And then we go to Nick because Nick's at his house and he's listening to the Nightcrawler. And this is when we get the flashback from a more permanent hell. And like we get the whole thing. Like the whole thing.
We don't get the part with LaCroix telling the other people about the statue carver, the bust carver.
Oh, yeah. We don't get that part. We don't get the part where he's like, is it true? Oh, remember when she wakes him up? He's sleeping and she like creeps into his room and she's like, Father, is it true you let your men rape the women? And he's like, yeah, what are you doing in here? Of course I did. It was to demoralize the people and to reward my men. And she's like, yes. And she
Thank you, Father.
yes. So this is actually the part where he's talking to Celine, his wife. And he's like, oh, so what's up with Divia? I heard she was sick. And she's like, yeah, she was sick. But then this dude showed up and he was like, I think I know what to do. And I was like, cool. And now she's fine. And then the other senator comes over and he's like, yeah, if she's fine, I'm a gladiator.
And he's not a gladiator.
Yeah. And we go all the way through to where he sees Divia come out. And he's like, oh, Divia. And he holds his arms out to hug her. And she's like, nope. And she leaves. And then we come back to him still podcasting. And he's like, a child's innocence and purity knows no bounds, but neither does its cruelty. And he's about to sign off when Nick is about to turn the radio off when Divia calls into the show. And she's like, hello.
Hello, Father.
Hello. And LaCroix goes, shouldn't all good little girls be in bed? And she goes, I'm not that kind of girl.
Who wrote the dialogue?
And she goes, I'm trying to prep for the Divia voice. This is a long one. Hang on. Do you know what it's like to be betrayed? Do you know what it's like to be betrayed by your own child? Not yet, but I'm gonna get you, Father. Really, she's like, I'm going to kill your friends. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill everyone who knows you, and I'm going to leave you alone
And
and
a little
friendless
dog, too.
and in the dark and cold, just like you left me, Father. And LaCroix's like, oh, no. And this is when Nick gets a visitor. He gets a visitor, and it's Urs. And we know because he hears that rant, like somebody's buzzing his doorbell, and so he
But then
goes
we
over.
get some night vision of Urs in the elevator.
Well, first he goes over to his giant monitor and he like clicks the monitor button, and it's like, oh hey Nick, it's me, Urs. Can I come up? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And so he just turns it off. She's like, I need to talk to you. So he buzzes her up so she can come up the quote elevator, which we haven't used the elevator very much in this season at all. And she actually,
if I recall correctly, this is the first scene that we've had in the quote moving elevator
yeah, from above
in
a while at least.
I don't recall any other scenes where people are in the elevator and we're seeing them in the elevator while the elevator is moving.
That's fair. If you guys remember one, let me know.
The first time we get this scene, this like part of his living structure, is the second to last episode.
Yeah, correct.
In the reboot, it will be a real elevator.
Yeah, it will be a real elevator. We'll have a real elevator. Yeah. But we'll be able to ride the motorcycle. But she gets attacked and killed in the elevator, which is a real shame because she's wearing this banging red leather outfit thing. And her hair looks really good too. It's really sad. And then we cut to Tracy because Tracy's at Vashon's and he's all vamped out when she comes in. But then when he turns to look at her, he's like composed himself until he tackles her. And he's like, oh, I got a lot going on in my head right now. And then he kind of backs off and she leans in and hugs him. Like, this dude just attacked you. And then he kind of gave you some breathing space so you could run. And then you lean in and hug him. And she's like, it's okay, Vashon. You're going to heal. And he goes, I'm not healing. I'm dying. And he's like, why are you here? When she first arrives, he's like, why are you here? And she's like, you fucking called me. And he's like, oh, yeah, you need to leave. And he's kind of trying to, it's the get away from me, I'm not safe, which usually, as someone who likes vampire stuff, I mean, that's something I'm normally here for. You have to go, I'm not safe. Like, oh, yeah, okay, just to say it again. You're not safe. You know, if you like vampires, you know what I'm talking about. But it's Vashon, so like I want this from Nick and I didn't get it from Nick, so god damn it. But it's fine. And he's like, I'm not healing, I'm dying. Oh no. So then we cut to Nick at the morgue because he opened his elevator. He saw Urs was there and he was like, well, that's gonna stain the carpet.
Oh, I saw, on a related note,
Okay.
I saw a thing about, like, in addition to the saying of spill the tea, it was someone explaining that they were telling their mom what spill the tea meant. And her mom responded, she said, with the best, like, extension of the spill the tea idea, which is, well, be careful because tea stains when you spill it.
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, Nick has never heard that because he was looking at Urz's body and he did not try to help her, bring her back. He was just like, oh, that's not great. And then he took her body to the morgue because Natalie has Urz's body. Did he call it in? Is this an O-fish? Is she officially here? Or did he just bring the body in and he was like, nah, I got one for you?
Does Natalie need to fake an entire autopsy to look human? Did he just make like a ton of extra paperwork for her?
Yeah, or did he just bring the body there?
Does Urs even exist on paper?
Right.
As a resident of Toronto?
Yeah. Or is this another instance of him just walking in with the body and being like, oh, can you tell me what killed her?
And like people would have seen him carrying a body into the morgue?
Yes, he had to carry that body into the morgue. And then Natalie had to perform a whole ass autopsy when she has probably lots of other bodies she needs to process that day. And what, did anybody come in while she was doing it? Well, nothing. We covered, he didn't call Natalie to his apartment. He took Urz's body to Natalie. And since we don't reference this later at all, in fact, we don't cover how they say this is solved. Like, we don't talk about how they wrap this case up.
We don't talk about how they spin the case.
So we don't know if the fact that Urz's body was found at Nick's apartment is part of this case or not. Did he take her body somewhere else and then was like, oh, y'all, I found a body in an alleyway way far away from my house. We don't know anything about it. But Natalie's like, I mean, we still don't know what killed her. Like, we still don't know what this is. I can tell you it's the same MO, but I couldn't tell you what did it. I mean, it could be the thing that killed the Egyptian grave robber. So yeah, maybe they're related. And Nick is like, what I don't get is why didn't Urs regenerate? How can she be killed if she wasn't staked or decapitated? Nick, we are all asking the same question. This could have been solved by just giving Divia a stake. But you know what? Then you don't get Nick out of it.
Right.
Yeah. So Natalie is like, could it be some new breed of vampire that's capable of doing this? And Nick goes, or something very, very old. And this is the part where I want to point out, because it's going to be relevant later, if LaCroix so Divia was changed by one of the first vampires.
Yeah.
So if we have like patient 0, she is the direct, like the first infected of patient 0. So then LaCroix is like second and then Nick is third. So Nick
I would increment that out by 1 and say Ka'a was probably the first generation of infected from patient 0.
Okay.
And then Divia would be like wave 2, level 2.
Yeah. 3 and then 4.
Yeah.
So Nick is only like 4 steps removed from the original vampire.
Right.
We don't know how far out Vashon was. We don't know. And then Urs would have been 1 step farther. So if the relative ability of vampires decreases, the farther you are away from the initial and like the original
like
vampire,
it gets diluted or whatever.
Then it kind of makes sense that Nick was able to come back because he's literally more powerful than the other ones.
Right.
Yeah. Something to think about. That pops up sometimes. I mean, that's not a unheard of vampire lore. Not only the older you are, and it's not just the older you are in terms of chronology, but that puts you closer to like the OG vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Nick goes to confront LaCroix because this feels like the moment. And he's like, who is she? And LaCroix's like, who? What? Who's she? What? What? He's like, the young girl. Who is she to you? What is it? And LaCroix goes, it. Wow. Yeah. It is something that I've never told you about, something that's too painful for even me to talk about. And Nick's like, oh, shit, you brought her across. Like LaCroix would be ashamed of bringing across a child. Like he hasn't done that. What about Daniel? Or was it David? The D guy. I don't know. The Cockney kid. What about that dude?
Yeah, like whatever happened to him anyway?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Doesn't matter. He's out there killing people with his psychic assault because it's a children thing, maybe? I don't know. He's like, it's something too painful for even me to talk about. And Nick immediately is like, oh, shit, you brought her across, didn't you? Because I heard her on your radio program. And LaCroix goes, oh, you're still listening?
I'm flattered.
And Nick is like, LaCroix, fucking focus. Urs is dead. And LaCroix's like, oof. Yeah, I kind of saw that coming. You see what she's doing? She's making me as alone and isolated as I left her. And she will kill all of you because of me. And Nick's like, yeah, because you brought her across. And he's like, no, I didn't. I didn't bring Divia across. Quite the opposite. And then we get the flashback, which is the let go your mortal bonds, father. When it's, Pompeii is erupting and Lucien LaCroix is like, Lucius LaCroix?
Lucien.
Well, he's Lucian now, but I think he's Lucius when he's the general.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, you can't defeat me. I'm more powerful than the gods. And then his statue falls over and he's like, oh no, my statue has fallen over. And Divia's like, you got to choose now. If you want to die, you're going to die with everybody here, or you can live. What's your decision? And he's like, to live, Divia, to live. And then she turns him into a vampire. And then we come back and Nick is just like, bloop, bloop. There's a lot of oh shit moments in this episode, so it makes sense to do the blink blink sound. And he goes, why did she save you? Like, why did this random child save you? And LaCroix goes, well, because she was my daughter. And now you see why I never told you who my master was? And Nick is like, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. And LaCroix goes, 20 years after Pompeii, I thought her dead and buried. And then he goes into the flashback where it's LaCroix and Divia in the tomb. And she's like, oh, you're mad at me now because you found out I killed my master. Oh, no. I mean, you think I'm weird now, don't you? Well, let's do this. I have an idea. This will bring us closer. This will get us over this little emotional hump that we're all feeling right now. Let's bang.
Let us do what must not be done. Make love to me, father.
Divia, no!
I was like, well, I'm sorry, what? And she goes, let's explore our natures. You get what I'm saying? Well, wink, wink, explore our natures. Literally, no one can stop us. Everything we lust after can be ours. And I love how we're showing LaCroix's increasing discomfort from like a 3/4 below angle, as if we're seeing him from Divia's point of view. And he's just like, like gross. And she goes, how can you sit in judgment after all I have done for you? And I want to take a moment and address the bedazzled collars that they are wearing. And I remember watching this on a CRT TV and being like, oh yeah, they have on gold collars. And you look at it now and it's like a couple of jewels and some upholstery trim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bless. Like, I would almost have rather they didn't go for it at all. Like, just give us a white robe.
Yeah.
Oh, this looked a lot better on a CRT TV. So give it some grace, okay? Give these collars some grace. We can give grace to something in this episode. It's the awful collars they're wearing. And this is the part when she does the daughter, mother, lover. Why can't I be all three?
Daughter, mother, lover. Why can't I be all three? You need someone to love, Lucius, and I need you.
And he's like, ah! And he actually vamps out because he turns around like in a, and he finds a scythe. And he's like, oh, yeah. So he turns around and snarls at her. Which is the universal vampire symbol for let's get it on. So she goes, yes, come touch me. Then LaCroix cuts her head off. And we just see it in shadow, like shpink. And then her shadow head pops off of her head. And then he puts her in the tomb and he's like, yeah, I put her in the tomb. And then the sun god worked on her, kind of like the cross does on us. You hear
it was
me?
imbued with a lot of religious belief by the people that made it. So it's a really powerful symbol.
Yeah, it was good. So Nick is like, well, you had no choice, clearly. And LaCroix's like, yeah, I did. I had choices. I could have done what she asked. And Nick's like, yeah, and despised yourself for doing it. I ought to know. I've done a lot of things that you asked me to do in the name of keeping peace, and I regret a lot of them. I am speaking from experience right now. And LaCroix answers with, yeah, okay, I might have despised myself if I'd done it, but I despise myself now because as a general, I did some really fucked up shit, and yet there was an evil in my own child that I couldn't bear to look at it. And it was an evil she got from me, magnified by the one who made her. She was my beautiful daughter. I loved her. She was my child. She was my fucking Fleur. I loved her. And I couldn't see her for who she was. And the moment I saw her for exactly what she was, I couldn't handle it and I killed her. What does that say about me? And it's a legitimate question. He doesn't ask that, but that's what it begs the question. Who was in the wrong? Like, how did Divia get to the point where she's in an Egyptian tomb begging her father to make love to her? I mean, at this point, Divia's in her 30s. Maybe not physically, but intellectually, because she's that old. So she's making choices. It's kind of like in Interview with the Vampire, where she's, well, in the movie she's 8 and in the book she's like 8, but in the new television show they aged her up, which, thank Christ, so much better.
Yeah.
Claudia, her name was Claudia, and so she grows up, but she doesn't physically grow up. I don't know, this is a complicated thing because, like, even if she's like mentally growing up, who else is she going to find to be with her who isn't the type of person that will be with a
creeper
child?
Yeah.
So, which I feel like Divia would, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to make any suppositions in that direction whatsoever. But you have to understand how LaCroix feels in this moment, which is like, I loved her and I couldn't handle who she actually was. And what kind of parent can't accept their child for who they are? But this is the part where Nick is like, how did she survive? Like, you cut her head off and you sealed her in a tomb and she was in there for 1900 years. How is she back?
Don't worry about it.
I love this show. I love this show. This show is like, literally, they have him go, meh. He goes, honestly, no fucking clue. Maybe the evil in the tomb sustained her? Who knows? Who cares? Does it matter? Nope.
Well, she's an elder generation of vampire.
Yeah, that's what we'll go with.
And he threw the head back in the tomb with her body.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing it just reattached.
It may be less that decapitation kills you and more that decapitation permanently incapacitates you, because
as long as you stay decapitated.
As long as you stay separated from your head.
Right. And maybe if the head and body had stayed separated long enough, it would have killed her. But if you just, shink, lift, yoink,
dunzo,
shut it, then she may have been able to, like, use her tongue and, like, roll her head back over to her body and have it reattach, which means she could have healed, like, immediately. Like within a couple of hours,
Yeah.
she could have been like
Together and
restored
stuck.
bodily,
Yeah.
which means she was conscious for 1900 years.
Yeah.
But she could have also, through the link to LaCroix,
Experience what he was experiencing.
experienced somewhat what he was experiencing.
Kind of like Nick and LaCroix, like how they're connected. Yeah.
Yes, because
And
LaCroix always knows how Nick is feeling.
And maybe the closer connection is also a result of being closer to the OG vampire. Because I feel like Nick and LaCroix's connection is far stronger than like Vashon and Urs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vashon is kind of like, well, I'll be there if you need me, but it's not like I'm literally feeling everything you're feeling at all times. So that would make a lot of sense because she could be even more connected to LaCroix than Nick is connected
Right, especially
to LaCroix.
because of the family relationship.
Yeah, because they're already daughter and father. Yeah, that's an interesting. I read a book one time, and honestly, I can't remember the title of it, and I wish I could because I kind of want to reread it because I read it when I was too young, and you ever read a book when it's too young and it has like it's weird in your head, but you're like it's probably not as weird as I thought it was. I was just too little to read it, and it's this vampire.
That happened to me with a book called Chthon.
Okay.
Chthon. I read it in like freshman year of high school, and it was just like weird. And then I reread it a couple of years ago, and it was like, okay, it was a little weird, but it wasn't like as weird as I remember it.
Yeah.
But I had more emotional ballast.
Yeah, this guy is like a evolutionary offshoot kind of thing, and it's sort of the legend, like the origin of the vampire legends. He's not specifically a vampire really, but he has vampire-like traits. But he cannot die. He physically cannot die, and at one point he gets decapitated, and like his skin seals over at his neck and then underneath his head, and then he's able to control his head and body separately to get himself back together.
Oh.
And like not only does the skin seal, but like his body will adapt to continue providing itself with what it needs. So like he can breathe through his pores when his head is not attached.
Oh.
And it was just an interesting story. There was more to it. Like he only died because of wood because his body couldn't differentiate between wood and itself. And so he could heal from other things, but he couldn't heal from wood because his body didn't even recognize it as a wound.
Okay.
So like if you pierced his heart with wood, it would just leave it there. If you took the stake out, he'd get better.
Yeah.
Anyway, we kind of established that staking is pretty final because not only does Divia die when she gets staked at the end, but she staked Ka'a and he stayed dead.
She staked Ka'a and then left him in the sunlight.
Right. And then buried him.
And then put his ashes in this tomb.
Right.
With this really powerful religious symbol above it.
Right. But he didn't come back. They didn't feed off of each other and he came back. Only she came back.
Right.
So staking feels like dunzo, but maybe the head thing is really just mildly inconvenient.
For that generation of vampire.
Yeah.
But then LaCroix gets staked.
And burned.
And he comes back.
Yeah.
And so it may be like staking incapacitates you similarly to decapitation, but you really need sunlight.
Yeah.
To finish him off.
Yeah, maybe he buried his ashes.
Or
too quickly.
completely burning. Because LaCroix is throwing Divia into a fire pit at the end.
It kind of feels like maybe LaCroix didn't get staked straight through his heart. Maybe more like...
And he just, yeeted out real fast.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? We're going to pull a Forever Night here and we're just going to go...
Don't worry about it.
Meh. Who cares? No one cares. It's fine. And Nick is like, oh, okay, I fully accept that explanation. Thank you so much, LaCroix. And he goes, do you think she'll come for you? I love this scene for several reasons. And one is because we get the badass bisexual lighting back from like the OG Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me so nostalgic for the like vibe of season one, the like cowboy, we do what we want vibe of season one. And I just miss it so much. But he's like, no, she's not going to come for me yet because she's got more people to kill. And Nick is like, heard. So he goes to leave, and then he does this little pause where he puts his hand on LaCroix's shoulder, and he goes, if you need anything. And LaCroix goes, thank you, Nicholas.
If you need me. Thank you, Nicholas.
And then he just gets this look like, oh my God, he really does like me. Like, this was a moment of tenderness that LaCroix was not expecting. Because Nick came in like, who the fuck is she? You turned her, didn't you? And now she's here to kill you and you're making it all of our problems. And then as soon as he finds out that like, oh, this is your daughter. Oh my God. And she's the one who turned you. Oh shit. That explains so much about how fucked up you are. Oh no. And then he's like, oh, I have misjudged you. If you need anything, you just let me know. And thank you, Nicholas. Like,
So I've noticed the last few episodes, LaCroix calls Nick Nicholas and has stopped calling him Nicolas.
Really only Jeanette calls him Nicolas. He's pretty much always Nicholas. Or not even really Nick.
Maybe it's always
Nicholas.
maybe it's just been in flashbacks. He calls him Nicolas because they're ostensibly speaking a different language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, nothing can take away the joy of that moment from me. And I love it so much. And I haven't been able to watch this episode for a year and a half because we've been doing this podcast and I'd have to watch it when you weren't there and you're never gone.
Wonders of working from home.
So then we come back and Vashon is telling Tracy, I'm losing it. I'm not going to get better. I'm only going to get worse. And you have got to kill me. And there's a stake. It's over there. It's in the bottom drawer on the left-hand side. No, not that one. In the other chest. Yes, that chest. Yeah, it's in that one. And you got to kill me. You got to put that stake straight through my heart. And so she walks over with the stake and she like puts it on his chest because he pulls his shirt open. And then she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. This is so unfair of him to ask her to kill him.
Right.
Deeply unfair. He could have gone out in the sun just like his master did.
He could have done full self-service on his demise.
Yeah. He could have staked himself. If he can't get it up under his own breastbone or if there's some whatever, he could have put it against his chest and run into a wall.
He throws himself onto the stake anyway.
Yeah.
So he could have thrown himself onto the stake without Tracy there.
This feels like I don't want to be alone right now, so I want you to do it because then I won't have committed, like I won't have done it.
Right.
And you'll be here when I die. But this is so fucking unfair to Tracy. And she ends up walking away like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he snarls and rushes at her and she stakes him out of reflex. And he's like, made you do it. and then she has to hold him as he dies. And he's like, Tracy. And she goes, yes, Javier. And he goes, wish me luck. And then he dies.
Blech.
That's a good parting line, though. Wish me luck. That's not a bad one. I mean, considering all that he's done in his life. Although if we self-actualize and we only get punished for the things we feel guilty for, he's fine.
No regrets.
No regret. No regrets. None. So then we go back to the precinct. And Nick is like, yeah, so we got nothing on LaCroix.
Like he barely exists on
And Reese
paper.
goes, wait, are you telling me LaCroix doesn't even exist? And Nick goes, well, not to us, he doesn't. He's clean. Everyone's accounted for and clean. I did it myself personally. And Reese is like, so we what? Write it off as ghosts or aliens or something? Come on, Nick. The truth is out there.
And I checked, X-Files started in 1993. So this may be...
I want to know if X-Files was taking their time slot. Like, I want to know if that was what was happening. And Nick goes, yeah.
Or maybe Blue Man Kuma was just a big fan of the X-Files.
Yeah.
And he slipped that in.
Slipped it in. The truth is out there. And then Nick goes,
Yeah, he throws in a bunch of supernatural stuff. Aliens. The truth is out there. Believe.
Yeah, but maybe not in our jurisdiction. Yeah. That's what Nick says. Which he literally,
Like
he means literally in this point, because this is vampire justice. Like vampires are going to handle this.
Oh, so in the reboot, Nigel Bennett should come back as an enforcer.
We're just going to put Nigel Bennett in every scene. Like, he's just going to be... like, we're going to go meet John Kapelos at a con coming up pretty soon. So we'll have met Catherine Disher, we'll have met Garrett Wynn Davies, we'll have met John Kapelos, and then there is the respectfully stated great white whale, which is Nigel Bennett. He does not go out on tour to, like, that I can see, to any cons anymore. And, like, how do you find this man to get his thing? Like, I can't have a whole cast signature on my poster if I don't get him. So anyway, Nigel, if you're listening, you can go on our website and you can contact me through the form, or you can send me an email at rachel@strangeandbeautiful.club.
Links in the show notes.
Links in the show notes. So anyway.
And they work now.
They do. I fixed all the links. I'm good at what I do, okay? So after we get the, but maybe the truth just isn't in our jurisdiction, Nick says, where's my partner? And Reese says, oh, well, she didn't tell you? Oh, of course. Why would she tell you? She's your partner. She said she was going to see a snitch. And Nick is like, oh, shit. She literally only has one snitch. So
she thinks she's being clever.
Yeah. So he yeets off to go. And he actually witnesses this moment between Tracy and Vashon, or actually really Vashon's body. And she's like, I never got to tell you how I felt, but maybe you knew. I hope you know. I hope you knew, because you changed me. You opened my eyes, and I'll always love you for that. And she says she'll take him to see Screed so he can be with his friend. And not to ruin this really sweet moment, but that means she has to lug his body across town, dig a hole by the river, and bury him in it. And I don't want to shit on this moment, but, like, that feels like something Nick should have helped her with, and then been like, I didn't do any of this. Just yeet off.
I'm just imagining Nick being like, oh, okay. And then he, like, whooshes off and comes back and drops off a, like the big carts you get at Lowe's. And then he whooshes on down to the river and digs a grave.
hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just puts, like, for Vashon, and just, like, leaves it. Like, don't tell anybody. It's fine.
Yeah.
So we go back to the morgue, and Nick is standing there, and he's talking to Natalie, and he was like, there's nothing I could do for her. There's no one she can talk to about Vashon. He's still not willing to reveal what he is. So she has no one to talk to about this. And Natalie's like, I'm in the exact same fucking boat, right, Nick? And you got a 2,000-year-old little girl who's out to kill everyone connected to her daddy, and no one is closer than you. Because even if Nick gets killed, Tracy and Natalie would have to reveal to each other that they knew vampires existed but didn't tell each other. And if they don't do that, then even they can't talk to each other if they both lose the vampire they love. And then we get this moment in the doorway where he puts his hand on Natalie's cheek, and he's like, don't worry, I'll watch my back.
Don't worry. I'll watch my back.
And you know Natalie's not reassured because she's been through his bullshit backwards and forwards in every which ways. She knows exactly how this is going to go. Because kind of in the very next scene, Divia shows up at his house to kill him. Yeah. And this is actually really a good part, because she could have just shown up and been like, and killed him like she's done with everybody else. Hello, father's son.
Oh,
but she
Nicholas.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nick. And she actually comes out and she's like,
Hello, brother.
hello. Because he goes, Divia. And she pushes aside his paint table, and she's like, you understand that I have to do this. It's not personal. It's about my daddy issues, and you are his favorite son. And this is happening, so it can happen the hard way, and it can hurt a lot, or it can happen the easy way, and it can hurt less. So, you ready? And I love that ready. Like, I love the ready. Here we go. And then we get a vampire showdown, which is just blah, 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 blah. Jump on table, fall down. Nick lights on fire for a little while, takes his jacket off. And then
Rick Forsyth throws the jacket off.
Yeah, his stunt double with a really bad wig. And then she grabs him, she like scratches his face, which is part of her mode of operation. And then she ends up biting him and tossing him to the side. And he falls on one of his sun paintings. And we get this like, oh shit, Nick is dead. Because we zoom slowly away from him. And then we get a Mothman flight. So canonically, there was another sighting of the Mothman. But this time Mothwoman was smaller. Weird. I don't know. They move so fast.
Moth Girl.
Moth Girl. I was trying to figure out if there was a superhero named Moth Girl. And I think there's just the Moth from The Tick. So, yeah. And then
Not a popular superhero avatar.
Not really. Although I love The Tick. But anyway. So we go to LaCroix at the Raven. And this is when Divia arrives. And she comes out from behind this curtain. And LaCroix goes, if I didn't know better, I'd almost say that you'd grown, my dear. Which is actually an in-joke because Catherine Long had actually grown between her two appearances on the show. Years. Yeah. And so, she grew up. This is their wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Get it? I mean, she spent 1900 years in this tomb being mad. It made her grow a little. I don't know. And she decides to try to needle him a little bit. She's like, I never imagined you would rise to the lofty position of innkeeper. And it's like, that's not the burn you think it is. It's fine. I own a whole club. I have a podcast. Okay.
Cool, with a following.
Cool people have podcasts.
With an internet following.
I put up a poll and I got responses. Okay. Like people clicked.
Rachel did.
People voted. Yes. Yeah, I did personally. Me. I'm micro famous. Isn't that the joke now? Micro famous. I'm famous in my own head. Okay. So anyway, after that real deep dig of the lofty position of independent, successful business owner. But the modern world is full of disappointments. Oh, and by the way, I've won. And LaCroix's like, oh, you've come to gloat, Livia? Great, fine, whatever. I fucking hate you. And she's like, you cannot imagine how much I hate you because I was going to spend centuries loving you. Like, loving you. But here we are. And LaCroix's like, you know what? Actually, she slaps him around a little bit. They get into a bit of a tiff here. And then he's like, I always thought evil had its limits, Divia, but you take the fucking cake because even I have a line, okay?
Incest.
It's the line. It's still a line. It's still a line. And she goes, and that's why you're as weak as those we preyed upon. And he's like, okay, so the only thing you really have left to do is kill me. Like, you've done everything else to me. You've made everybody leave. I'm here all by myself. I had to close the club. You killed Vashon and Urs, who I honestly gave less of a shit about than you could possibly imagine. But like, cool. You killed them. That's fine. You should probably just go ahead and kill me. And I have to wonder, is he provoking Divia to try to get her to kill him before she goes and kills Nick?
Maybe.
Like saving Nick by getting her to abbreviate her plan and just go ahead with killing him. Yeah. It kind of feels that way because he feels like he's goading her. And it doesn't work because she's like, oh, you mean kill you right now and deny you the pain and loneliness that I have felt? I don't think so. You must exist forever with the knowledge that you destroyed everyone who was dear to you. And then she goes, including your son. And this is the part where LaCroix's like,
oh, no, she didn't.
What do you mean? And she goes, Nicholas, I think was his name. One always recognizes family. And LaCroix's like, oh, hell no, you did not kill Nicholas. And she goes, yeah, no, your son is dead. How does that feel? Tell me how that feels. And then he's like, I am not going to let you leave here because there is enough misery in the world. And she's like, there's always room for more. And then she ends up grabbing him by the neck because she's like, oh, okay, you're going to stop me? You and, as they say, whose army? And then she throws him through the glass into the pod lab. And in my notes I wrote, not the pod lab.
How rude.
How rude. And then Divia is like monologuing while she's pressing his neck to the broken glass. And she's like, say you're sorry. tell me you don't, like, tell me you're sorry. And then LaCroix goes, if you kill me right now, my suffering will be over. This is a really tense part. There's a lot of tete-a-tete in this part. There's a lot of back and forth. And she's like, maybe, but also maybe you'll be damned. And, oh, look, I brought the scythe that you killed me with. Oh, my God. Weirdest coincidence. LaCroix responds to this. He goes, when I was mortal, I loved you more than the gods. But now how could anyone love anything as grotesque as you? That was better than the innkeeper line.
Yep.
So Divia has some
LaCroix 2, Divia maybe
None.
1,
None.
0.
only one because she killed Nick, and she got him with that one.
Yeah.
But everything else, it's been LaCroix's game, and she's playing it.
Yeah.
Verbally. Physically, she's beating the shit out of him. And then she raises the weapon. And I have to imagine at this point, he's not fighting back simply because a world without Nick, what's the point of that? Because like he said in A More Permanent Hell, I will actually miss you. I just won't be able to die.
Right.
And she raises the weapon, and just in time, she gets staked. And as her body falls away, we see that it's Nick. And LaCroix's look of relief when he sees that Nick is okay is like, oh, thank God. I have invested so much time and energy in you. I was really hoping you didn't die.
And I'm guessing that LaCroix would have felt it if Nick actually died.
He didn't feel it when Jeanette turned into a mortal.
Well, maybe that's because he didn't care that much about Jeanette.
I mean,
And
I
it may
don't
have been
know.
a different sensation, like a gradual, like weakening of her,
Yeah.
like signal.
Maybe Divia is like jamming the channels. It's like having a too powerful of a signal.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah. But after she gets staked, Divya is laying on the ground and she's like, oh, Father, help me. Daddy, please. And LaCroix's like, okay, no, it's fine. I forgive you everything. I'm so sorry. I called you grotesque. And
My
he's kidding.
sweet little
I'm going
girl.
to help you. And Nick is like, no. And she goes, Father, don't let me die. This is when Nick is like, don't do it. He keeps holding him back, which is really sweet and really sad because he just wants to save his little girl. And then she does this like, it's like death rattle sound.
It's not bad.
This is fine. It's good.
Yeah.
And then we cut to them at this junkyard and they're preparing to burn Divya. And it's the most non-human looking wrapped thing I've ever seen in my whole life. The feet look like cartoon character feet. They're like, shh, it's fine. Shh, it's fine.
It banged her up a little bit on the way out.
It's fine. So this is the part where LaCroix goes, they say there's nothing worse than a parent outliving their child, but I kind of think there might be some exceptions. And then he goes, I never thought I'd say this, Nick, but I am so glad for your search for humanity. Perhaps that's what allowed you to withstand her death by evilness. And so here's the part where we can kind of discuss, why do we think that Nick was able to overcome this? Because his response is just that Urs and Vashon were young and they didn't know how to deal with it.
Right. And I don't think they had gone like as wide open as Nick had done several times on just like murder sprees. So Nick had experienced the just wild, bloody, like murder sprees where he was enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah.
And he has like worked himself down from that state a bunch.
He's learned how
And
to compartmentalize that.
And he maintains that, you know, compartmentalization of it on a daily basis.
Well,
And
like
so,
it killed Urs outright. Whatever it was, killed Urs. Just straight killed Urs.
right,
It didn't kill Vashon until he was staked.
right,
Although he stated he was dying.
right. Yeah, he wasn't regenerating.
I wonder if it is a lifetime of having to fend off LaCroix's psychic invasion.
Maybe the
so-
combination of
Yeah.
of just personally being able to deal with it.
I think it's supposed to be a combination of just simple time. He has at least 300 years on Vashon. And then his master is orders of magnitude older than most other people's masters. So the person that he learned everything that he learned from is orders of magnitude more powerful than other people's masters.
And Nick is a more elder generation of vampire.
Yeah, it's like a millennial, and Urs and Vashon were all Gen Z. And somebody took away their cell phone and they just died. They just straight up died. And the millennial's like, well, I've been here before. I know how to live without a cell phone. I can handle it.
Get me that phone book and a payphone.
That's fine. What movie did we watch where they checked? Oh, we just watched the Mario Brothers movie with Cinematic Anarchy, and they checked
The 93, 94 one?
Yeah, and they checked their answering machine from the payphone, which I thought was the most 90s combination of tasks one could possibly do.
Yeah.
I've always liked that Nick survives this. I like it because we harp on the fact that Nick is weaker, he's more human, he's more mortal, he's intentionally less vampire than everybody around him. And it gets a little bit like, meh. And it's really nice every once in a while when we're like, there are perks.
Right.
There are perks to the fact that he has focused so hard on learning to control his urges, his mental, like he's learned to control himself and to control the part of himself that is vampire. And he's done it for different reasons than maybe LaCroix has, but you have to imagine LaCroix is probably just as good at controlling himself as Nick is.
Yeah.
Just for different reasons. And I love that this gives him well, they were young, and so they didn't know how to deal with it, but it was fine. 15 minutes, I was good to go. So I don't hate it. I don't hate this moment. I love this moment. In fact, I fucking love this moment because this is when he turns to LaCroix and he's like, I'm sorry for your loss. I mean, because this was a loss. We don't like Divia had her flaws, but he was still her child. It still hurts. What he was losing was not just the child. It was the life he could have had with her had she not done the things that she did.
Right.
Sometimes you don't just lose the physical person. You lose the future too. The future you would have had with them. And
Yep.
so he's like, I'm sorry for your loss. And this is when he says, okay, how about Urs? LaCroix goes, how about Urs? And Nick goes, Natalie took care of her body.
How did Natalie take care of a vampire body?
And all I can imagine is Natalie like dragging a body bag out at dawn and just unzipping it and just standing there and smoking a cigarette while it burns. And then like shaking the ashes out on the flower bed and just walking back in, cursing Nick the whole way. Like, fucking.
No. There's a little like ashtray outside because it's the smoking area.
Yeah.
And she just pours the bag into the
the
ashtray, and then she calls the facilities guy, hey, this ashtray is full again.
It's full, yeah. You should probably commit them to the wind too, by the way. So then he says, well, what about Vashon? And Nick's like, well, Tracy buried him by Screed. She knows what he was, which reminds us that like LaCroix and Tracy never interacted. So LaCroix and Tracy,
yeah,
he never had a chance to find out that she knew. I mean, when they met in the precinct, that was it. That was their first interaction. And LaCroix goes, oh, is that going to be a problem? And Nick's like, well, maybe we should just tell her that Vashon moved on, but leave in that he was a vampire. Like, we'll just say he was a vampire. It was his time and he moved on. And, you know, that knowledge of us was his gift to her, and we don't have any right to take it away, which is fair. And we got into a slight debate on the Discord about this, about whether we felt like this was a fair, like, oh, Vashon left to go get cigarettes and just never came back. Like, is that a great way to end? Like, is that better, or would it be better to have left her with, he sacrificed himself before he could hurt her?
Right.
And I think I like this. I like it was his time. You had your time together, and then he chose to leave because it's technically correct.
Right. But it removes the trauma of him
Yes.
kind of selfishly involving her.
Right. Because it makes him a better person than he was. And there's really there's no shame in that, in leaving Vashon a better legacy than he would have left himself.
Right.
So, okay. Nick follows that up with, she's a resistor, but I know you know how to get around that. And LaCroix's like, done, say no more. I can handle that. And he goes, but you know what? I'm going to stay here with Divia right now until she's ash, and then I'm going to commit her to the wind. And I might even say a prayer. And this is when Nick does the shoulder grab, puts his hand up on his shoulder and he goes, good night, LaCroix. And then they share this look. Ugh, why couldn't I have had this in any other episode? This you know what? We love a good bromance. One of our favorite K-dramas we love because the bromance is so on point. And this could have had, look at their chemistry. Just look at their chemistry in this one little moment. And we could have had this bromance.
Yeah.
For seasons. And instead we get it right now because they get this look and he just goes.
Which is worse than even doing this in the last episode.
Yeah.
If this is the last episode, it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's like going forward.
Yeah.
Cool. We got that.
Yeah.
At the end. But one episode before the end, it's like, wait, if this wasn't the finale, we could have had this at any other time.
At any other time. Except we didn't. And after their look, he goes, Nicholas. And Nigel fucking Bennett packs so much into that Nicholas. And I just fucking love it so much because it's not just Nick. It's like Nicholas.
Nick.
He just found out that his most beloved son, yes, beloved and beleaguered, like he harasses Nicholas, but he does, like I've always contended, he's doing it from a place of, I care about you. I'm just not real good at figuring out how to tell you that. And so I'm like trying to relate with you, but I only have one method of communication and our love languages are really incompatible. Okay. But he is his most beloved son. He is the one that he is closest to. He has stayed with him for 800 years for a reason. And he thought he was dead. He thought Divia had killed him. And for that moment, he lost Nicholas. He lost 800 years of trying to connect with him and never quite making it. And he lost every future possibility of ever connecting with him. Right now, when he finally felt like he was growing closer to him in a way he never had before. And then he didn't actually lose him. He shows up, and not only does he show up, he saves him. He could have let Divia kill him and then killed Divia, and he would have been free. But he doesn't. He saves LaCroix. And this is a moment where they have finally connected. Not only did he get his son back, but he got his son back better than before. And he packs all of that into Nicholas. Because he's Nigel motherfucking Bennett. That's why. And then Nick leaves. He just walks off and he whooshes off. And LaCroix lights the body. And then that's the end. And that's the end of the second to last episode of Forever Night.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be doing a live watch along on the Discord.
Yeah, the Discord's going to be doing a live watch along of Last Night sometime next week. We haven't nailed down the date yet, but when we do, I'll put it up.
Last night next week.
Yep. With a K. Both of them. Queek. K-W-E-K. Connects Queek. Yes. So I don't know. I don't have a date nailed down yet, but when I do, I'm going to put it up. I'll put it up on Instagram. And again, we'll do the same thing we did for Black Buddha, where I'll record the watch along and then I'll just offer it on Patreon if you want to buy it for I think I put it up for $1. And then you just watch it like a riff track as you watch the episode, or you can watch it live with us on the Discord. I'll put the date up on Instagram. If I can't get a good date next week for everybody on the Discord, I may actually delay it 1 week just to make sure, because a lot of the people on the Discord have been with us for a really long time, and I want to share this last episode with them. So I'm going to make sure we get everybody who wants to be a part of it. I hopefully can be a part of it. So, I guess we'll just leave it at that. I love this episode for a lot of reasons. And it's because as weird and as meh as some of the things that pop up are, this is Nigel's episode, and I respect Nigel as an actor so much, and I love that they just let him run in this episode, and I fucking love it. And I think I'm just going to leave it there. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Mm-mm.
So until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, LaCroix. Nicholas.